Everyone, and thank you for attending today's Why Insight for Windows 11 webinar. Presenting today will be Ian Pletenik. Before we begin, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your audience console are multiple application widgets you can use. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can submit your questions in the Q&A box and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. You can also expand your slide area by clicking on the maximize icon at the top right of your slide viewer. If you have any technical difficulties, please click on the Help widget. And if you'd please take a moment to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar, we would greatly appreciate it. And with that, I will pass it off to Ian to kickstart today's presentation.
All right, thanks, Aubrey. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. We appreciate you having some time today and joining us. My name is Ian Pletenik. I'm a category manager with Insight. We do a lot of things around what's happening in the industry, working with third parties like MPD and IDC and Circana, working all together, really understanding so that we can kind of beat the market with certain things that we're talking about. If you've joined us for any other webinars, we've had a 3-part webinar series so far. So this is the 4th installment. Webinar 1 talked about security and compliance with Windows 11. We talked about the layered security approach there. Our second episode was about productivity, or was about manageability and deployment, where we talked about autopilot and some of the zero-touch enrollment capabilities of Windows 11 machines. And lastly was productivity and collaboration. That was our 3rd webinar, where we talked about some of the new features around things like better Bluetooth, better Wi-Fi, work from home, and really how these devices support hybrid workplaces. So today we're going to do something a little bit differently and kind of talk to you about Insight as a partnership, some of the things to look out for when it comes to Windows. So get into that, and I'll show you guys the next slide here, which is going to be today's agenda. So Aubrey, just making sure, next slide advanced.
Yes, we can all see the slide.
Awesome, thank you. Alrighty, guys. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Windows 11 migration. Right, so we all know it's coming. We're going to talk about some of the key dates, some of the things to look out for. We'll look at a quick little value of Windows 11, where we just kind of break it down by those 3 topics that I just mentioned. Then we're going to look at zero trust and getting into modernized endpoint solutions overall as a company. Secondly, our topic will be device readiness. So this is where we're going to explore some of the tools that Microsoft has available for clients, whether it's Endpoint Manager, Intune, or any of our third-party companies as well. Lastly, in this topic, we'll be talking about the Windows 11 demo program through Insight, where I'll kind of talk about how we've aligned those devices and how we have devices fit for every type of role, broken up by personas. We'll follow that up with Insight's capabilities, talking about Insight's partnership with Microsoft, lifecycle service capabilities, and then some of our autopilot and autopilot offerings that we can get you guys up to speed on. And then lastly, I'm very excited for this part, but Insight as a partner, meet the team. I have 4 special guests with me today, and we'll do some introductions towards the end of the presentation. But we're going to have kind of an open session panel. If you guys have questions, you can throw them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer some of them. And if we don't get time today, we can always follow up. We'll have those chat responses sent to us. We can follow up accordingly. Last little thing for housekeeping is there will be some polling questions throughout. Feel free to answer them. If you don't feel comfortable, totally okay. But that's how we want to engage with you all. You know, if there are opportunities or there are areas that you might need help in, let us know, and Insight can be there to really help out. So without further ado, let's jump into some of the key dates for Windows 10 and Windows 11. So firstly, Windows 11, when did it come out? October 2021. That's when it was released. That was their debut album, but they haven't made the top of the charts yet. So we're hoping and we're expecting that to change coming into July, because they have a new hit called Windows 11, and it will become the primary operating system shipping, which will lead into that next topic of Windows 10 Pro being out of stock. Everything will have Windows 11, so you'll have to downgrade into Windows 10. So the remaining Windows 10 units are going to be very high demand, and a lot of people are going to be trying to snag those up before having to jump into the newer machines. Another big point here in July is some of the CTOs. So if you're a client and you're wanting to continue running Windows 10, that's totally fine. But as time progresses, having the Windows media for Windows 10 built into your CTOs may come with an additional cost. So talk to your OEMs and really roadmap with them. If you have applications specific to Windows 10, feel free to reach out to us. We can talk about application compatibility. There's a lot of tools that Microsoft has put out there. Right now, they're ensuring a 99.6 compatibility rate. So if there are issues, not only can we send you a demo unit to kind of test out your existing applications, your current images, things like that, but we can also roadmap with our OEMs and really understand some of the changes around their devices. You see here, I mentioned the Windows 10 Pro coming out of stock and seeing supply chain constraints. So to kind of put it into perspective, when COVID hit in 2019, we had record years when it came to devices being shipped industry-wide at over 340 million devices. Now, we all saw kind of what that did to the market. You know, people were waiting 6 months sometimes for computers. Well, with Windows 10 going end of support and sunsetting, there's over 272 million devices that will not meet those requirements. So based off the TPM platform, based off of things like the RAM, things like the storage in general, there's all these different aspects of it, including secure boot and some of these other things that are needed to run Windows 11. So you kind of take what happened during COVID, 340 million devices, and you compare it to kind of what's happening in the industry with Windows 10 moving to Windows 11 at 272 million. There's a lot of opportunities there when it comes to understanding your environment, really planning for it, and kind of getting ahead of the curve when it comes to getting new computers or refurbishing old ones, or just understanding what your environment looks like. And that's kind of what we'll cover today, some of those readiness assessments, if you will. And then lastly, we all know this date, October 2025. So this is when Windows 10 will officially sunset. There may still be versions that are being supported, like Windows 10 Enterprise. However, when it comes to the majority of devices, we will be seeing that shift next month regarding Windows 11. So when we talk about Windows 11, some of the really big key characteristics of it is it was really built for remote workers, right? Understanding that people have the ability to work from anywhere. I'm in the office today. I'm coming in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, well, Monday, Thursday, Friday, I'm at home. So I'm kind of, moving back and forth a lot. And a lot of companies and a lot of clients that we work with are doing something similar. So number one, understanding security and understanding what they did with the TPM 2.0 chipsets, making that a key requirement for some of these devices, or all of these devices rather. So Spectre and Meltdown, when they hit at the component level, that's something that Microsoft has talked to the OEMs about to really make sure that we're safeguarded against it. It's a layered approach with Windows 11. So it works with the application level. It works with the identity and privacy level when it comes to your biometrics and your Windows Hello and some of those types of features. And it's really the most secure operating system to date for Microsoft. And then when we look at management, understanding that people are remote and we might not have the same sort of business environment that we had when it came to doing things like traditional imaging, where we had to physically touch the machines and then get them out to the end users. Now we can do it all via the cloud. And so that's a really big feature here when it comes to some of the management tools and some of the built-in capabilities with Windows 11. And then lastly, when it came to productivity, we talked a lot about some of the features around things like video conferencing, right? Understanding what they can do as far as better Bluetooth and better Wi-Fi capabilities, and really just making sure that these devices are able to support any type of worker in any type of environment. I'll give you an example of that. I'm currently sitting in our Insight library. So we have a lot of books around here. And ironically, there's 2 air conditioning units, and they're very, very loud. So you might hear a little bit of whirring in the background, but I'm telling you, like, these things are pretty loud. If you were sitting right next to me, it might be annoying. But we're on a conversation right now on a call. Hopefully it's not intrusive at all. But that's some of the technology just kind of working in the background. And there's a lot of cool features like that around Windows 11. So one of the big things around hybrid workplaces is the types of devices that are out there. If we have clients that purchased devices in 2019 and they're still being used today, pretty soon those devices will become unsupported by Microsoft, and having unsupported operating systems is always a big, big security risk. And having some of those older devices they don't have the types of security benefits that these newer devices will have. The TPM, the secure boot, some of those things that are built into the computer, some companies are going to have to consider doing an upgrade. Unfortunately, for some of them who have not planned, that might be a big ask. However, if you plan for it and you really have a partner that can help you strategize for it, right? There's things available out there that we're able to leverage with our OEMs. There's things out there that we're able to leverage from financing options, things like that as well. I like this stat. It says 86% of security decision makers, they believe outdated hardware is not alone. It leaves organizations open to more attacks, rather. And then when it comes to 86% agree modern hardware would help protect against future threats, it's really just that sentiment around, newer technologies coming out. You go from 2020 to 2021, 1 year, a lot of things can happen within that space. So when I think of the operating systems, that's 8 years of development. When Windows 10 launched, so when Windows 11 launched in 2021, it's almost 8 years of working on something as crucial as an operating system. So when it comes to modernizing some of your endpoints, you want to try to get to that zero trust. You want to try to get to your zero trust. Framework. That's the word. And really what that is, we want to make sure that everything's secure right off the bat. We have all of our things related to the actual user itself. Then we have things like your applications. And then what are you doing for your devices? How are you managing those devices? How are you pushing policies? How are you pushing patches and really securing those devices? And then if you're doing anything related to virtualization or anything around any sort of virtualized environments, how is that playing into this model? And then getting into the ultimate plan is to really make sure that you're protected from every single level. And Insight can really meet you wherever you're at. We have experts, not like me. We have experts that are able to really drill down into the environment, understand where you're currently at, run assessments around security and compliance, and really try to help out with different types of initiatives that you have as you get into that zero trust model. So we're going to have a couple polling questions, and think about what I just showed you and think about all the different things that Insight's able to help out with. If there's anything that you're interested in or anything that you might need some assistance in when it comes to migrations or when it comes to road mapping, let us help you. If you don't feel comfortable answering this, that's totally fine. But if you are interested, we have teams of resources that will get into a little bit deeper into the conversation. We have over 8,000 employees, over 13,000 employees, 8,000 of which are sales and support. And then over 3,800 of them are technical experts, consultants. We have our engineers, our architects, and a lot of our team is able to help out with different types of engagements. Take a sip of water here. All right, next topic is device readiness. So really understanding your environment and letting you know some of the tools that are out there if you're not already familiar. So Microsoft has some of the tools in place that are free. Others are tied into different types of applications. So the free one that people are familiar with is PC Health Check. Now, to run this, you have to do it on your individual computer. However, when you have a mobile device management solution, similar to what we have with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, there are different reports that you can run to really understand all of those devices in your environment. It'll look at things like secure boot, TPM, and well as your storage and RAM, and anything that might call out to be non-upgradable as we get into the new Windows 11 hardware requirements. Those are all things that you're going to want to plan for. So this next section, we're going to kind of walk you through some of those tools and show you a little bit more about what those tools will look like, how you can use that to your benefit, and we'll move on, talk a little bit about some of the third-party solutions as well. So first off, with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, also with Intune, there's a report that Microsoft has published, and it's called the Work from Anywhere report. And what this report allows you to do is take a look at your environment and understand every single device that's connected to your network. And it will also run a report against all the different criteria that Windows 11 requires for the upgrade. So even though it's a little blurry, you can kind of see the section that I have highlighted there. It's Windows 11 readiness status. So there's things like this device has already been upgraded, this device is capable of an upgrade, this device is unknown for the reason, and then we have the not capable. And then you can see here that the problems are the CPU family. So maybe it's an older chipset, and maybe it doesn't have TPM version 2.0. And so these are the driving factors for why some of these devices are no longer compatible or will not be compatible with Windows 11. So really running these types of reports, getting an idea of where you guys are at as a company, figuring out what is most crucial and what can kind of be pushed off a little bit further. Those are all some things that you can kind of leverage this data for when you're talking with anybody else within your company and really strategizing around some sort of migration plan. There are also PowerShell scripts available. So you can download this. The presentation that I send out will have links on it. So feel free to go to those links, educate yourself if you haven't already. You can download this PowerShell script and run it against your network. And what this one will do is really give you some sort of output, whether it's a -1, a 0, or a 1. And this will just kind of tell you all of your devices that are enrolled into your network, everything that's available out there for you to understand your environment a little bit better. And again, getting into some of the reasons why it may not be compatible, your storage, your memory, your TPM version, the CPU, as well as secure boot enablement. And so as you kind of look into your environment and you start looking at some of these devices that might need some attention, that's really where we're able to help out. You know, what type of user were they for? What types of applications are needed? Are you going to move towards the cloud when it comes to cloud-based provisioning? Or are you managing traditional images right now with different types of machines and having to make sure that those are all updated based off the different devices? So this is where Insight can really help provide that solution. But really understanding that first and foremost is going to be one of the biggest things kind of moving into this big industry-wide migration. And then lastly, I just have something here on Landsweeper. So you might have seen that we had something with Workspace ONE, Avanti, Landsweeper, right? So Insight works with all of these partners. We have resources for all of these partners. Like I mentioned later in the webinar, we'll be meeting with 4 of the folks that work with our OEM partners. But when it comes to publishers and software, we have those capabilities as well, and those folks who are sitting in Insight working with us to support our clients. So whatever your MDM solution is, reach out to them, see if they have anything available to make your job a lot easier when it comes to what we're going to do with upgrades and migrations here pretty soon. A really interesting factoid here that I saw from Landsweeper. So they're publishing what they're calling the Windows 11 Readiness Audit. So what they did is they looked at 30 million Windows devices across 60,000 different orgs, and they found that only 57.26% of those workstations did meet the requirements for Windows 11. And that's really going to be the biggest driver here. It's going to be the CPU and the TPM 2.0 chipset version that is required for every OEM to have the capabilities to run Win 11. So this report is really cool because it will break up your environment and kind of give you the whole list of things that are maybe jeopardizing some of your device's ability to upgrade. And it'll give you a really nice report that you can export and really use however you need to. But again, checking for the component compatibility is going to be crucial. So having a plan in place for that and understanding some of the technology that's out there is going to be really beneficial for you guys in the long run. The other good way to test your environment, your applications, your current images is really getting your hands on some of these devices. A lot of our clients are already buying Windows 11. They might be downgrading and running on Windows 10, but they know that they have the devices that are going to last because they're not going to need to be refreshed. However, for clients that are still on Windows 10 and just getting into Windows 11, that's totally fine. But understanding how your devices are going to react or your applications are going to react to these new devices is really crucial. So Insight did something special working with our OEMs with AMD and Intel, HP, Surface, Acer, Lenovo, Dell, you name it. we have over 20 different options of some of the newest Windows 11 devices and 13th gen Intel processors as well that you guys are able to test out, run your applications on, see how things are performing, comparing manufacturers if you'd like to. We have the ability to send out multiple units at a time. If you guys have questions, we have our team of resources available at any given moment. And what we did here is we defined these different devices by the type of worker. So it's not one size fits all every time. And especially right now with working from home and having the ability to work from anywhere is really crucial to have devices that support that type of business. Something that I thought about recently when it came from working from anywhere is something really cool that Insight just put out. So Insight as a company, they published something that says you can work from anywhere for 30 days. You need written approval, you need some consent from management and from anybody else involved in your team, but you can work from anywhere so long as you have connectivity and so long as you're doing so in a responsible manner. So I thought that was really cool. So 30 days working from anywhere, we have a lot of opportunity within sort of how things have changed within remote working. And, it's something that needs to be aligned with that type of person. So whether they're sitting at an office, frontline back office type, or if they're a power user, or if they're doing anything on the road, like a mobile trailblazer, there's a lot of different solutions out there. And if you need to get your hands on them and test any of them, just let us know. That's a very, very easy process. So with that being said, we'll go into the next polling question. If you want one, let us know. We can talk to you. We can understand what you're going to use it for, maybe make some recommendations. If you're looking to compare manufacturers, let us know. Insight is agnostic, but we have the best partnerships with everybody, and we really want to make this an easy process for everybody. Again, Intel and AMD available as well. So now we're going to jump into Insight's capabilities. And before we get going, I'm going to take another sip of water and kind of introduce you to Insight as a partner when it comes to Microsoft. So firstly, I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the presentation, but Insight has over 13,000 employees. 8,000 of those are sales and service focused. 3,700 of them are our engineers, our architects, and our consultants. When you think of the scale of Insight, we really support every single type of business. When we started out, we started with a core focus on enterprise customers. And over time, through acquisitions like with PCM, we really were able to scale into our commercial business. And now that we're working all together, we have the resources able to support any type of initiative, whether it's anything from security all the way to the cloud, whatever it may be, right? We have those capabilities and we have those resources aligned who can really help out from a technical perspective. Something that I think is really, really cool. So does anybody know how much an exabyte is? Okay, you might have said it. It's 1 million terabytes. So Insight has migrated and worked with over 1 million terabytes or 1 exabyte of data, over 2 million workloads since 2015. And this slide might be a couple years old, and that number's probably grown even more significantly, but it holds true. It shows the value of Insight as a partner, specifically to some of the ways that we're able to help out from more of a solutions integrator perspective, not just selling some product, making sure it's enrolled in some sort of cloud-based tool, but really walking you through the entire process and having conversations around some of the more complex technology needs. One of the cool things about this slide is you can kind of see our track record from 2019 to 2022. We're still waiting on some awards for 2023, but it's June right now, and some of those awards are published at the end of the year. But Insight's been doing some very, very strong things in our relationship with Microsoft and how we're supporting our clients. And Insight's a top 1% Microsoft partner. There's only a handful of companies that are able to say that same thing. The one thing that I think is really interesting about the partnership with Insight is when Microsoft changed their partner structure and they went into partner designations, Insight was one of the first companies to achieve all 6 of them. So that's modern work, business applications, data and AI, infrastructure, digital and app innovation, and security. because we already had these frameworks in place and because we already had these different types of capabilities, as soon as these were published, Insight was one of among the first ones to have every single one and really give us that recognition within the industry. So some cool things about Microsoft. Insight's been a partner for over 30 years with them, and we continue to do amazing things with them all. Next for our capabilities is lifecycle services, right? So I've talked to a lot of different clients, and they might have 4 or 5 different partners, or 4 or 5 different IT partners to help them with different needs of the business. I've talked to customers that had one company doing their imaging, another company helping with warehousing and financing, and another company helping with some of the ITAD services related to recycling and remarketing, buybacks, things like that. So having a one-stop shop with Insight, being able to do everything from operating system adoption, something that we're talking about right now, deployment and migration planning, something, again, we're talking about right now, but really what that pre-sales layer is, getting into some of the things we're able to do with procurement, as far as warehousing solutions go, doing things like hot swaps, anything related to the device lifecycle from start to middle to finish. Insight is able to help out in every which way. From the prepare and deploy stage, we're seeing a ton of clients moving over to Autopilot, cloud-based provisioning. So after this, I'm going to talk a little bit about Autopilot specifically, and then kind of tease out some of the offerings that we have around there, exclusive to Insight. And this is through some of our OEMs and partnerships with Microsoft. We're able to kind of put those minds together and then provide different types of options for our clients to take advantage of. So in my old role, I used to cover our lifecycle service business. So I would help customers understand what is out there. I would help them plan for what they might be needing with their integration lab teams. If they have a legacy imaging model, understanding how Insight can support that. If they're looking into going into some sort of different technology, we could talk about that. But really what it came down to is, what are you doing at the end of your device lifecycle? And this is going to be super, super crucial with the huge opportunity with Windows 11 right now. It's going to be a lot of devices. So what are you going to do with them? Are you going to repurpose them? You're going to recycle them? You think there's some money in them, right? Insight can help out with any one of those. So last polling question, second to last polling question. Which of these lifecycle services would you like to explore further? If you have questions, if you want to learn more, we have tons of marketing content. We have awesome resources that can talk to this. And we have sales reps that are knowledgeable from every one of these different types of solution sets. We'll move on to the next one. What is Windows Autopilot? So when we think about traditional imaging, we have our applications, we have our policies, drivers, settings, all put together to create an image. That might be for an HP machine. Now I have a Lenovo machine. Now I have a Dell machine. Maybe have an Apple machine. So for every device, you might have to have a different type of image. Or if you're advanced and you have a golden image you're able to use for everything, that's awesome. However, a lot of customers do not have that. So instead of using that, touching the machine physically, whether it's USB or an SCCM server, and then pushing it out, now it's all cloud-based. We can build different types of groups. We can load applications all together in one area, and we can push it down. So Insight has a couple different offerings. One, we can do something like a serial number upload. So if you have an Autopilot and Intune instance built out, we can just send the serial numbers up to that tenant and enroll them before they even get to the end users. We do a lot of that right now. And Insight does not charge anything for serial number uploads. Other competitors might have a fee tied onto each one of those devices. However, with serial number upload, it's completely free of charge. We do have an offering that does cost a little bit of money, and that is our white glove provisioning service. So maybe we're getting hands-on, maybe we're doing a little bit more around some of the settings, setting policies that may not be included in the work group, and then doing other things like asset tagging, or we even do etching, right? Not a huge service, but it's kind of cool. Kitting also. If you have different types of end users that are needing some sort of kit or bundle, we can put it all together in one box, ship it to them, use that with Autopilot. Now they have a device that's already provisioned for them based off of their work group, as well as having all their peripherals at the same time. So they're not waiting on a headset 2 weeks later or what have you. So a lot of cool capabilities within our lifecycle services, and then Autopilot really being a really big focus right now, just because of everybody's remote. Not everybody, but a lot of people are remote, and just understanding that working with every single device, touching it, shipping it might cost a lot of money when it comes to your resources and where their time's going. This is a really great solution that Insight has really done a tremendous amount of work in and has really great capabilities. So that'll kind of drive me into this next slide. I kind of touched on why already, so we'll just skip it. So we have something called the Autopilot Test Flight. So this is a one-day workshop where your team can meet with our team, and we can really talk about Windows Autopilot in general. We can even build something out for you guys and help out with creating that work group. We can look at the Intune environment, we can look at Autopilot in general and really get you all familiar with it if you have not already explored that topic. And like I said, if you are already an Autopilot user, just let us know, and it's free of charge. We upload the serial numbers through distribution, and then it provisions on its way to the end user. In this workshop, they'll help with the assessment if you guys are unsure of some of the requirements, right? Having Azure AD, which type of Microsoft licensing I need. Our team can help that there from a licensing perspective, and then with an implementation perspective as well. And some clients that do this workshop may be eligible for additional service credits. And that's something that I'm just going to kind of tease and put out there. But like I said earlier, we have a couple OEMs and Microsoft teaming up to really help drive this type of messaging. So there's funds and there's resources available to really help with some of these different types of service opportunities around Autopilot. Last polling question. If you answered, thank you very much. And so what are we doing here, right? We're trying to get ahead of the curve, right? We don't want our customers waiting until the last minute to have some sort of plan of attack, right? We want clients actively using this new technology, taking advantage of some of the features and benefits of it, and really just having some sort of plan in place so that, you know, they're not scrambling and they're not stressed out when it comes to some of these really key dates and some of these constraints that we're going to foresee. So Insight has kind of created this whole sort of educational awareness session, if you will, talking all about Windows 11. Today, we kind of talked about some of the device readiness tools that are available and really why having some sort of migration plan is helpful. But if you have not heard or seen some of those, we have on-demand links that you're able to visit. Again, we touched on security and compliance, manageability and deployment, and productivity and collaboration. You can see some of the client feedback. And then, as always, we have those demo units available. So if you are interested, if you need to get your hands on them, if you're comparing different manufacturers, whatever it may be, let us know and we'll be able to assist there. We'll send this out at the conclusion of this. It might come out tomorrow, but feel free to use this however you'd like. Forward it to some teammates who weren't able to make it, anybody who you might see fit. And then lastly, we got to do a really cool event dedicated to our clients, kind of like client appreciation, but with a purpose, right? So we had breakout sessions around things like Autopilot, Windows 11 readiness. We did things with device as a service for some of our larger customers. And we had demos available. They could touch and feel them. We had AMD and Intel, tons of different manufacturers. You can see we had some swag. This is at our Insight headquarters, so where I'm at right now. And, we just got to get together with some of our clients and hang out. This is something that we're going to continue to do. So our next one's going to be somewhere in the East Coast. So if you guys are out in the East Coast and you see, anything going around LinkedIn, or if you see an invitation, encourage you to do that. It's a very informative day, and we have a lot of fun with it too. So with that, I wanted to kind of kick it off to the next segment of this presentation. And this is going to be kind of an open discussion I have some prepared questions, but if you have questions in the chat you want to do, feel free to put those in as well. We can try to answer them. And if we don't have time, then we can always reach out afterwards. So with that being said, we have some special guests on the line. So if you folks can turn your cameras on and kind of say hello, we'll go through some introductions, then we'll just ask some questions. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
All right, good seeing you guys. All right, so let's start with Hayden and Dell. Hayden, you on?
Yep, I'm on. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir. So Hayden, why don't you introduce yourself and just kind of how you work with Insight? You know, what are you client facing? You know, what is your role? What are some of your responsibilities?
Yeah, so I'm the new partner specialist for the Insight Dell badge. Basically, I go over all of the devices for Dell through Insight. So if you need help getting special pricing, quoting, technical calls, technical resources, things like that, to get people way smarter than me on the phone with you to answer all your questions about, will this work on this, will this work on that, I can get that for you. Additionally, I hop on customer calls, kind of go through speeds and feeds, updates, services, things like that. We can also do pass-throughs through Dell, where we can sell Fortinet, Barracuda, Cables to Go, VMware, just to name a few, that will come straight through Dell, and all that pricing will pass through, and you won't have to pay extra for it that way. We have some really great service as well as far as live optics goes, asset reports, MDR Pro Plus, devices as service, things like that. We basically can do it all. So if you guys need help around Dell, I'm the guy for it. Me and your rep can get you taken care of.
Thanks, Hayden. So Hayden is on a team that supports our Dell business with Insight. So you can see on the slide, we have over 70 dedicated resources for Dell. That expands into every line of business. So data centers, storage, cloud, whatever it may be, we have capabilities to help out in every one of those regards. So something that I think is really interesting about Dell is their service portfolio combined with Insight service portfolio is massive. So if there's ever a solution that you're talking with Insight about, and just I'll tell it how it is. Sometimes there's minimum requirements for some things. Based off of the employee count, maybe the amount of devices in an environment. But when we're able to leverage our partnerships with some of these OEMs, we're really able to find something that fits you as a customer. So really having Insight and having companies like Dell, Lenovo, and then kind of tying them all in together really gives you as the customer that full sort of service solution, if you will. So Hayden, quick question for you. When it comes to some of the other lines of business, you said that there's people like you. What really does that mean from a Dell perspective?
Correct. So I have a data center counterpart for anything over server storage. We have a services counterpart, and we also have a financing counterpart that not only finances Dell deals, but any other manufacturer as well. So if you want to change some like CapEx to OpEx, we have teams for all of that. Like, for instance, I'm over all of the peripherals and devices. So anything that you basically see on your desk, if it's Dell related, I can get that for you. Whereas I have someone who does the servers and storage side of that on my team as well. And that's broken up by region. So there's a central team for that, a west team for that, and an east team for that. And then we also have a SLED and Fed team for that, as well as different places internationally that can cover that for you as well from your Dell perspective.
Thanks, Hayden. Appreciate that. Next, we're going to introduce you to somebody that I've worked with, I think for almost 6 years now. Her name is Marcella. Marcella, if you're on.
Unmute myself. Hi, my name is Marcella Nicosia. Like Ian said, we've worked together for a long time. I've actually been at Insight 8 years and part of the Lenovo team for the last 5. So I have a lot of good knowledge of the Lenovo side of the house practices and also what Insight is good at. I am a business development manager, which means I'm dedicated to helping support the Lenovo brand exclusively through Insight. So me, along with my peers, we help manage the relationship between Insight, Lenovo, and then all of you guys, our customers. So we are all resources that are available to you and your sales reps to help answer any questions.
Sorry, Marcella, didn't mean to interrupt there. So a couple questions for you. We talked a little bit about Dell, but when it comes to Insight and Lenovo, what does that kind of support and partnership look like from a partner like Insight, but supporting the brand of Lenovo?
Yeah, so between Insight employees and Lenovo employees, we're a team of about 35 people exclusively dedicated to supporting Lenovo through Insight. So there are BDMs like myself that cover all different segments of the business. So for example, me personally, I cover commercial for the West Coast and also Insight's public sector organizations. But we have folks that cover the healthcare teams, the other segments of commercial business, corporate enterprise, data center and storage, edge and AI. We have services specialists. We have leasing and financing specialists. Any line of business that you guys could be interested in, we do have expert resources available to help support you guys. And then Insight is a tier 1 partner for Lenovo, meaning that Insight has the highest level of partnership. And that is kind of what helps bring a lot of these resources to the table in terms of headcount, in terms of funding and support, prioritization, stuff like that.
And then Marcella, when it comes to working with a company like Insight, using those resources, what types of solutions and products specific to somebody within our channel are we able to benefit from?
Yeah, so Lenovo has a really diverse portfolio offering that spans pretty much the entire breadth of the technology. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Lenovo's ThinkPad line of business. That's one of our most popular. So we're known for our PC, but we also have a strong presence in the data center and storage space. Lenovo's the largest PC manufacturer in the world and consistently rated amongst the most reliable on the market. But through our partnership with Insight, we can offer a wide variety of services, things that include imaging, asset tagging, etching, autopilot, end-of-life cycle services, leasing, financing, stuff like that. And Insight and Lenovo can work together to optimize the supply chain and focus on where each of our respective strengths lie to deliver the best service and the best solution for you guys. And then to support our customers' requirements and price points, Lenovo is also heavily invested in both Intel and AMD chipsets. So most of our offerings on the device side of the house come with the option to go with either Intel or AMD, just to provide you guys with more options that fit your guys' business requirements.
Yeah, and I think a really, really big benefit that I saw back when I was just getting into Insight and starting to understand the channel a little bit is we have the ability to leverage every single distribution channel, including sourcing direct from Lenovo, doing things like CTOs, leveraging top sellers, right? Understanding every type of device out there and every type of distribution channel to really exactly what you were saying, right? Have that best type of supply chain experience. So, you know, that was always a big takeaway for me when it came to Lenovo, but really appreciate you being on here today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ian.
Now we have a gentleman named Christian Johnson. Christian, you want to introduce yourself a little bit, and then I'll fire off a question before we take a look at the chat here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ian. So my name's Christian Johnson. I'm the partner manager for Microsoft Surface, really just in charge of strategy and go-to-market, really getting that full Microsoft suite and preparing all those solutions for you guys. You know, we have a team of 16 specialists dedicated solely to the Microsoft Surface line. But really, if you look at the entire Microsoft team, it goes much more beyond that. I'd say probably over 50, 60 resources that we have here at Insight. So excited to be a part of the team and all the capabilities we can provide.
And then Christian, how does Insight's partnership with Microsoft bleed into some of the hardware solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. So Insight is a top 1% partner with Microsoft. And when we reach that level, we really design our value-added capabilities, our services around the full Microsoft suite, right? So not only are we providing the devices, but also the implementation and adoption of the Windows 11 solution. So when we look at that Win 11 solution, what makes it so great? It's the collaboration experiences. So Insight can help train end users on Teams capabilities. They can help train on Win 11, using Win 11 tools efficiently. When it comes to security, we have a great security team here at Insight, and they can help have those conversations around strengthening security measures, especially in a time of increased remote workers. And then I think most importantly, the seamless deployment and management. And I know, Ian, you touched on it with Autopilot, but we have a team dedicated at Insight specifically for Autopilot. So they can have those conversations, those workshops, the roadmaps for what it would look like for your organization to get up to speed and be ready for Autopilot deployment. And then Ian also touched on the white glove services that we can do in our labs. We can prepare all those devices so that when the end user actually opens it up, types in their credentials, their profile's already on that device. So in all, it really just helps maximize returns on your IT investments, frees up internal resources. That way you can dedicate them to more maybe strategic initiatives. So really, the Surface team here, 16 dedicated reps, but the Microsoft team at Insight, the holistic team at Insight is really just, has tremendous expertise across all aspects of the Microsoft platform.
Yeah, I think that's a really great call out too, right? Is how do we support devices? Well, we look at everything that a device would do. And from looking at the Microsoft suite and everything that's available in it, and understanding how that's going to interact with the device. And we have over 60 people dedicated to just that area alone. I think that's a really good benefit of working with Microsoft with Insight and on the Surface side. So thanks, CJ.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then lastly, for Andrew on the HP side, you want a quick little intro, and then we'll ask one question and see if anything's in the chat for you.
Absolutely. So my name's Andrew Pizzolatis. Don't get confused with the last name. It's Greek, so it's a bit hard to pronounce. But I'm a BDM supporting our East enterprise clients for the HP portfolio and the entire HP portfolio. So that encompasses print, PCs, and now Poly. The Poly is the new acquisition of HP. It's been about a year and a half now, and officially under the fold from a portfolio standpoint. Like many on my team, I have the technical aptitude to help just essentially solution for clients, right? Help solution, provide solutioning, which encompasses pricing, providing product roadmaps to clients, going on site, really, taking a look under the covers in terms of what they're doing, right? So, you mentioned kind of the Windows 10 to Windows 11 strategy, leveraging our resources to also accompany me on site to kind of go through and walk through that. And whether those resources are Insight or HP, we have both sides of the field that we could play. And then additional things are just things like logistics, planning, deployment, and implementation overall, right? These are all things that I touch on a daily basis, but I'm just one person on a team of 15 that does this, right? So we have somebody like me in the West, Central, Commercial, the Fed SLED business, all of our verticals. So we're well covered from a resource standpoint when it comes to HP.
Yeah, and I think, similar story to what we see with some of our other OEMs is just the depth of your catalog, right? Line of business, when we talk about that, right? You're in the peripheral business, you're in the data center with some of the products like, your HPE lineup, right? It all kind of encompasses, and when we think of HPI and just the peripheral business, the device business, as well as including Poly now, right? So with the acquisition of Poly, we have the support there as well. And then our print business, right, which is absolutely massive with you guys. So I think understanding, how you guys support us all and how everybody is kind of dedicated to their portfolio, really makes it easy on clients when they are looking for, customers, or when they're looking at companies that can kind of help with all of that. So really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing as a call out here is, and maybe not too many folks know this, but 90% of HP's business goes through the channel. And being one of the largest partners and a platinum partner of HP, we get a ton of resources, right? So I mentioned 15 dedicated resources that are Insight badge, but we have the same number, if not double, that support Insight exclusively when it comes to the different product lines that you mentioned, right? Whether it be workstations, commercial PCs, point of sale, print, poly products, HP Anywhere, which is a rebranding of Teradici. We have technical consultants in each of these categories that could go into a deeper dive if we need to, right? So again, the solutioning aspect of it. And then one of the largest call outs is probably we are one of the few HP partners that has access to all of HP's service offerings, right? So you mentioned the service offerings that Insights provides. We could actually essentially complement those services if there are potential gaps globally with HP's factory services because of their global arm, right? So we do play from that perspective very nicely together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a really good call out too, because I'm sure some of the clients here have some sort of international presence. Whether it's a small office somewhere in the UK or full on operation of some sort of affiliate company, and really being able to leverage companies like HP, Lenovo, Dell, and leverage their capabilities within that space and Insight's capabilities within that space. Being able to assist them anywhere they're at. Nail on the head, right? Good call out there, definitely. So we're coming up on time, and I really just wanted to introduce you to some of the other folks at Insight. Like I said, we have 13,000 employees, right? I'm one of them. These folks are 4 of them, right? So our team goes on and on and on and on. And, people's expertise falls within different areas. Our technical folks, come from all over the place. They're coming from manufacturers. They're coming from companies like Microsoft, right, to support our business. So, when you are looking at some of these things like what we're talking about today, right, leveraging and understanding some of the folks that are out there that have your back, that are ready to help out, that's really what we wanted to do today with this kind of session at the end here. But are there any questions? I didn't see too many going into the Q&A. I don't know, Aubrey, if I might look at the wrong screen or something. But, with that, we can kind of wrap it up and, just kind of open it up, if there are any questions while we have some of these folks on the line, or we just call it.
Hey, Ian. Yeah, just make sure you have the Q&A box open, but you're right, I'm not seeing very many questions in here. But also just a reminder that we have the poll questions at the end of the presentation. So if you want to push forward just a few slides.
I think we're going to send a follow-up survey to everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. And guys, that follow-up survey, again, it includes some of the polling questions that we asked today. Again, feel free to reach out on those. We can get somebody to help follow up, provide resources, things like that. But, we really appreciate the time today. Since there aren't too many questions, we're just going to go ahead and let you get back to it. But we appreciate the time today. Thank you for listening to our Why Insight for Windows 11. Hopefully you're a little more familiar with some of those readiness tools and assessments that are out there. And then feel free to reach out to anybody at this company. We're definitely willing to help you guys. But appreciate the time today, and we'll conclude our presentation. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.